Ka'u Desert. To me, if you put that sentence together, it does not make sense to me. The majority of the residents there have to truck in their water, and the closest water spigots are in Waiea, I believe, maybe Milili'i, as well as the most useful one, which is in Naalehu for the water trucks to use. So not only they're paying a ton of money to truck the water over, and all they're asking for is a well in their own subdivision that the trucks can use in order to fill up their catchments. They're not even asking for indoor plumbing. They're looking for spigots where they can fill up their own water, as well as have a location for the water trucks to have a fill station at.
Sounds like a very important issue. Is this one of the main issues that you're hearing from people in your area?
It is the issue of Ocean View. How basic is water? I mean, the fact that water has to be an election issue is kind of sad. I mean, it should be a given. And in fact, because of talking with those people, I'd like to put forward a gray water initiative as one of the first things I do. Not even just for Ocean View, but there's a lot of people there that have gray water systems, but technically it's a permit violation. You cannot, technically, gray water is illegal. Gray water systems are illegal, and that seems so backwards to me. There are countries that give you tax credits for having a gray water initiative. So how can we move forward and allow existing gray water systems to be permitted and allow new ones to be built, and even part of the design process as people plan their houses? It's a resource, it's a valuable one. We need to make sure it's being used to the best of its ability.
That's great that you mentioned that. There was a forum recently from all the Puna candidates, and one of the questions that came up there I thought was an excellent one. Basically, what is your view on the building code that will be coming into play? Now, the contention here is that the new building code is very mainland friendly, kind of one size fits all, where you need, I believe, insulation, you need double paned windows, you need all this stuff that's mainly for places that experience 4 extreme types of climate. Now that you mentioned this whole gray water thing, what is your stance on what needs to be changed in the building code, besides perhaps giving some allowances for these gray water systems?
Well, I think we do need to firm up the structurization of it a little bit. There are so many houses that are just kind of tossed up, and my concern about some of those places is that any given disaster, they could be knocked down. You know, you take the wolf and the piglet story. You know, we're looking at houses made of straw and sticks. We don't necessarily need brick houses, but we need to actually have them with proper foundations, proper stabilities. Double pane windows isn't necessarily a bad idea in terms of hurricane protection. So there are things that could be looked at, but at the same time, we don't necessarily need insulation. That seems a bit ridiculous. But being able to build the homes where the air circulation does flow to help keep it cool without air conditioning, do a bit more green building, smart building allowances to allow people to put in systems to make their house as efficient as it possibly can be. Doesn't sound like a bad idea to me, but I'd have to give it a lot of look. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you I'm not an expert on anything. The solid waste issue is the one I know the best about, but I would definitely need some building inspectors' input. I am by no means an architect and an expert on that, so I would definitely need some education on that before I could make a firm decision on it. Right
on. Now, one issue I saw too was you are concerned about the safety at Punaluu Beach and the need for a lifeguard. Is that correct?
Yeah, and actually my opponent, Guy Enriquez, has actually got that pushed forward. As far as I know, I believe there are lifeguards that are hired and they're just waiting for the stands to be put up. Okay. It was something that had gotten put into the works by Bob Jacobson, the previous council person, and is now finally coming to fruition.
Do you have any sort of clever environmental solutions that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I think we all realize that we're having to ship in a majority of our energy, whether it be for our house electrical or whether it be for our vehicle. I was part of the research process to help us see whether biodiesel was viable for the Big Island. With that research, Pacific Biodiesel has bought some property and blessed the land to build the biggest plant in the state here on the Big Island. I think it's really exciting. We need to look at what fuel sources or energy sources in general are best for our island, whether it be from virgin crops, whether it be from reused items such as reused cooking oil being remade, whether it's from the wind, whether it's from the solar. There's even in Massachusetts somewhere, they actually have ocean windmills where what they do is they put the windmills way out at sea and run cables underground. So if you look in the distance, you see little tiny windmills out there on the ocean capturing that wind power. How can we capture and use that to the best of our ability? How much solar water heater systems can we put in? What can we do to provide our own stuff? We have such a variety of different technologies available to us, and there is not going to be one single solution that's going to solve all of our problems. So how can we use each one to the best of their ability in order to maybe not completely deplete our dependence on imported energy sources, but at least help sustain us as much as we possibly can?
Right on. I'd like to get into some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
What do you say about GMOs? You say, hell no, Monsanto, or give me Mo, GMO?
I do think that GMOs have their place in, I see where the importance of them came in order to allow drought-resistant crops to be able to thrive in areas where there's not as much water. However, my concern is not only the fact that you can patent it and then have to resell the food, but then not necessarily marking all the food that is GMO'd, so those that choose not to have it have that warning. There also needs to be some strict regulations to make sure that no other non-GMO'd crops get contaminated with GMO'd materials. I'm personally not a huge fan, but at the same time, I see their practical use.
Now, regarding depleted uranium at Pohakuloa, so depleted uranium is basically a radioactive material that gets put into the casings of bullets and other kind of ammunition, and these are fired at Pohakuloa, different training sites, and some of it will actually evaporate, go into the air, which is happening quite a bit in Iraq. There's a lot of information on that, and recently, Alan McNary from Big Island Weekly wrote a big article saying that there's really been no intent to ever clean it up. I had read that you had an opinion about the depleted uranium subject. Would you care to share about that?
Well, I think any contaminated site on the Big Island or even the Hawaiian Islands or even worldwide needs to be taken seriously and cleaned up. There really should be no question about that. If it's determined to be contaminated, it needs to be taken care of.
Right. How about homosexuality, gay people? What is your stance on that civil rights issue?
I know this is a pretty heated topic.
Yes, it is.
Personally, I'm all for it. For gay marriage and equality. I was really disappointed how the Civil Unions Bill came out because that bill was non-discriminatory. Say you had to take care of your sister. She was disabled and couldn't work. The two of you would fall under that Civil Unions Bill, where you'd be able to be covered and have resources in order to help you take care of her. The thing about that bill, like I just said, is it's not discriminatory. But because it wasn't discriminatory, it became a gay issue, which I think is really sad. We have some friends who are gay, and it doesn't bother me any. It really, who they choose to love is their own business, and I made my choice, and my fiance and I are going to be getting married next June. But if someone else wants to make the same choice and make the same promise we're willing to make, they should be allowed that right. And I personally believe before we start condemning anybody who is willing to make that promise, regardless of what sex they are, we need to ban divorce first, because that's what we're doing, is we're making a promise to each other. And by having divorce on the books and making that okay, you're saying it's okay to break that promise, but yet you're preventing other people from making the same promise you're willing to go through and break. That doesn't seem fair to me.
What is your stance on marijuana?
Well, personally, I don't think it's as big of an issue as ice is. Regardless of how I personally feel about it, we passed an initiative. The people passed an initiative. There were so many votes for that ballot one initiative that our representatives need to make sure it's being enforced. Bottom line, that's